In the heart of the Catholic Church, something powerful is happening. A new pope has been elected, and devotion to young saints is rising like never before. But what has caught the attention of many and puzzled others is a surprising link, an unexpected connection between a teenage boy from the early 2000s and the newly elected pope. This isn't just coincidence. This is something deeper, something sacred. The name Carlo Acutis now seems to echo alongside Pope Leo XIV, revealing a spiritual bond that no one saw coming. As news of the new pope spread across the globe, faithful Catholics were filled with a mix of surprise and hope. Pope Leo XIV. His election was unexpected, almost mysterious. No one had predicted his name, let alone his rise. But while the world focused on his background and first speeches, a quieter story was emerging, one that connected him directly to Blessed Carlo Acutis, a modern teenager admired for his deep love of the Eucharist and his passion for spreading the gospel through technology. Let's begin with the name Leo XIV. When the new pope announced that he would be called Pope Leo XIV, people were curious. The name hadn't been used in over a century. The last pope to carry that name, Leo XIII, was known for his wisdom and courage. He had written the famous encyclical Rerum Novarum, a document that changed the way the Church spoke about human dignity, social justice, and the rights of workers. His teachings touched not only the Church, but the entire world. His devotion to prayer, especially the Rosary, and his firm belief in spiritual warfare left a legacy that still shapes Catholic life today. So why did the new pope choose the name Leo? Why now? Shortly after his election, Pope Leo XIV explained to the College of Cardinals that he admired Leo XIII deeply. He believed that the Church needed to return to the foundations of truth, justice, and holiness. His words were powerful, but it was the timing of everything that made people pause. His election happened on a special day, the feast of Saint Michael the Archangel. This wasn't just any day. According to tradition, this day marks a heavenly encounter, a moment when Saint Michael appeared to defend the faithful in the spiritual battle against darkness. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The very same Leo XIII, who inspired the current pope, had also been moved by a vision of spiritual warfare. Legend tells us that Leo XIII once heard a terrifying exchange between Jesus and Satan. What followed was a prayer, the famous prayer to Saint Michael the Archangel, that has been recited by Catholics ever since as a shield against evil. So when Pope Leo XIV was elected on Saint Michael's Day and chose the name Leo, the spiritual connection could not be ignored. It was as if heaven itself was reminding the Church that the battle for souls is still very real, and that a new shepherd had stepped in to lead with strength and clarity. But this story doesn't end there. There is another Leo from history, Pope Leo IX, who was also shaped by a miraculous experience. As a young monk named Bruno, he nearly died from a serpent's bite. During his suffering, he had a vision of Saint Benedict holding a crucifix. The saint touched him with the image of Christ, and Bruno was healed. That boy would later become Pope Leo IX, remembered for his efforts to renew the Church and protect the faith. He also redesigned the Saint Benedict Medal, a powerful sacramental against evil. So now we have three popes, Leo IX, Leo XIII, and Leo XIV, all tied together by visions, healing, spiritual battle, and devotion to holiness. And just when it seemed that this story was about the popes alone, Carlo Acutis enters the scene, not as a side note, but as a central part of this unfolding spiritual journey. Carlo Acutis was born in 1991 and died in 2006. He was only 15 years old, but in that short life, he lit a spiritual fire that continues to burn. He had a deep love for the Eucharist, often saying that spending time in front of the Blessed Sacrament was like soaking up the sun. Just as the sun tans the skin, he said, so does the Eucharist transform the soul. For Carlo, the Eucharist was not just a symbol, it was the living presence of Jesus. What made Carlo different was how he used modern tools to share eternal truths. He created a website to catalog Eucharistic miracles from around the world, hoping to awaken faith in people who had forgotten the power of God's presence. He used technology not for fame or entertainment, but to evangelize. He believed that the internet could be a tool for holiness. In many ways, he was a saint for the digital age, a teenager who played video games and loved soccer, but whose heart was on fire for Christ. Sadly, Carlo was diagnosed with leukemia and passed away in 2006, but he offered his suffering to God with peace and trust. His last words to his mother were full of faith. "I'm happy to die because I've lived my life without wasting even a minute on things that don't please God." He was declared blessed in 2020, and now his canonization, the final step to sainthood, is expected to happen soon. But here's the twist that ties it all together. As researchers were preparing for Carlo's canonization, they discovered something that had gone unnoticed for years. The high school Carlo attended during his last years of life was named the Leo XIV Institute. Yes, the very same Pope Leo XIII who inspired Pope Leo XIV, the same pope known for spiritual battle, justice, and the Rosary. Carlo only attended a few schools, and his life was short. Yet the school that shaped his final years bore the name of the Pope, whose legacy now lives again through the newly elected pontiff. This is more than coincidence. A teenage saint in the making, shaped by a school named after a historic pope. A newly elected pontiff, shaped by the same pope's teachings. Both lives are now being linked by time, name, and spirit. And when Pope Leo XIV leads the Church in canonizing Carlo Acutis, it will not just be the recognition of a saint. It will be the continuation of a legacy, one that began with Pope Leo XIII, was lived out by a teenager named Carlo, and is now carried forward by Pope Leo XIV. Even the timing of Carlo's canonization feels divinely arranged. It was originally scheduled for April, but Pope Francis's unexpected death led to a pause in church events. With Pope Leo XIV now leading, Carlo's sainthood may become the first major act of this new papacy. A sign that holiness is not just for the past, but for our time. That sainthood is not just for monks and mystics, but for ordinary young people who love God with all their hearts. Let's go even deeper. Pope Leo XIII was known for his devotion to Our Lady. He wrote 11 encyclicals about the Rosary. No other pope has written that many on this single devotion. He believed that Mary's intercession was powerful, especially in times of global unrest. Now Pope Leo XIV begins his papacy in the month of May, a month traditionally dedicated to Mary, filled with processions, flowers, and prayers across the Catholic world. In his first homily, he called Mary the Mother of God and the Star of our time, calling on all Catholics to return to prayer with devotion and joy. The symbols are all here. Saint Michael, the Rosary, spiritual warfare, youth and technology, holiness and healing. The Church is not randomly moving through time. It is being guided, shaped, and renewed through patterns that speak to God's careful design. And now we see that design through the hidden but powerful link between Blessed Carlo Acutis and Pope Leo XIV. Both figures remind us of the same truth. Holiness is not old-fashioned, it's not outdated, it's needed now. Whether through the digital tools of a teenager or the spiritual leadership of a pope, God is still working. He is still calling, and he is still using people, young and old, to bring light into a dark world. When Carlo Acutis looked at the Eucharist, he didn't see a symbol, he saw a person. When he saw the Church, he didn't see an institution, he saw a family. And now, through his canonization, the whole world will see that sainthood is not far away. It can grow in the middle of a digital age. It can live in the hearts of gamers, students, artists, and dreamers. It can shape popes and teenagers alike. So what does this all mean? It means that the Holy Spirit is still moving. It means that the Church is not only looking back, it's stepping forward. With a new pope whose name carries history and hope, and with a young saint whose life speaks to the present, we are entering a new chapter. And this chapter begins with a stunning, hidden connection, a bridge between Carlo Acutis and Pope Leo XIV, between youth and tradition, between digital faith and ancient truth. Let us take this moment to reflect not just on what has happened, but on what it means. If God can use a teenager like Carlo and a pope like Leo to touch hearts across the world, he can surely use you. Don't wait to be perfect. Don't wait to be older. Don't wait for the world to change. Be the change, be the light, be the saint the world needs right now. Because as Carlo once said, we are all born originals. Don't die as copies. Let your life speak. Let your light shine and let your heart follow the same path toward truth, toward Christ, toward heaven.